Hey guys, it's Rachel here, and today I have my August wrap up. I had another really good reading month. I read a total of 11 things this month, and I am super duper proud of myself. These past 2 months I've been doing really good. In 2 months I've read 21 books, and that's like astounding for me because usually I've been having months where I'm only reading like, 3, 4, 5 books. So this month 11 things, it's freaking awesome. So today I'm just going to show you guys the 11 things that I read, and they are going to be in order, so let's just go ahead and get this party started. So the first thing that I read this month, and the best opener of this month, is going to be Saga Volume 1 by Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples. So this was awesome. I have been on a really big graphic novel kick lately, so I've been reading a whole lot of graphic novels, been buying a whole bunch of manga and graphic novels, and so this is what I started with this month, and it was really good. The artwork is so awesome. Granted, this is pretty graphic. This is really for mature audiences only. I would not recommend a child reading this, but it was really good. And the story basically follows our two main characters who are from 2 different worlds, and they fall in love and have this baby here, and then now everyone in the galaxy, whatever, is trying to find them, and they just want to go into hiding so they can raise their daughter. It is so good. I give this a 5 out of 5 stars, and like I said, I highly recommend this, but please make sure that you are a mature audience if you are going to read in this. The next book that I read this month is going to be The Kiss of Deception by Mary E. Pearson. Now, again, I saw this when I was watching a book haul from Riley Marie, 1196, and we have pretty similar tastes in books, so I went ahead and picked this up, and it was so good. Oh my god, I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars. I read this in a matter of days, and it is a pretty chunky book. It's got, almost 500 pages in it, but it was so fast-paced, so good. This follows our main character, Laya, and Laya is a princess who has just been pretty much betrothed to the son of a king from a different kingdom, and she does not want to go through with it, so she and her friend decide that they are going to run away, and that's what she does. She goes into hiding, and she goes and stays in this village. She ends up meeting 2 unsuspecting guys, and she befriends both of them, and one of them happens to be a prince, the scorned prince that she was going to marry, and the other is an assassin that has been sent to kill her, and she doesn't know which is which, and the reader themselves don't know which is which until they're very far into the book, and it was so good. I was wrong. I really thought that I knew who was who. I mean, I was positive, and I ended up being wrong, and I was pleasantly surprised by that. But if you want a fast-paced fantasy fun, I think the love triangle was done very well in this story. If you want that, then I highly recommend this. It was so good. The next book that I read this month is going to be Death, Dickinson, and the Demented Life of Frenchie Garcia. Now, I have only ever heard one other person talk about this on BookTube, and that's going to be Richard from Richard Denny, and this book was so good. I saw it on his channel. He was mentioning that this is one of his favorite books of last year, I believe, and I saw the cover and I really liked it, so I went onto Amazon and I went and saw it on the Amazon Marketplace, and I went ahead and picked it up for like $2 or $3. It's very short, and this book is not going to be for everybody. It is a very dark book, a very morbid book, but it basically follows our main character, Frenchie, and Frenchie, like I said, she's very morbid. She doesn't have a lot of friends. She's very down, very introverted. She doesn't like being around a lot of people, and she happens to live on a street where there's a cemetery, and she has this unique obsession with the cemetery, wanting to know how the people died and whatnot. And on top of that, she has an imaginary friend who an imaginary friend in Emily Dickinson, and Emily Dickinson happens to be one of the grave markers, or there's somebody buried named Emily Dickinson at the cemetery, and she develops a friendship with Emily Dickinson. Now, she likes to think of this as the Emily Dickinson, the poet, but in reality, it is not her, but she thinks of it that way anyways. And then the story starts to progress when we find out that Frenchie was had befriended a guy who ends up committing suicide, and nobody knows that she was with him on the night that he does commit suicide. So this is a lot of internal struggle. The main character, Frenchie, she's trying to cope with the fact that she was the last person with him when he was alive, trying to understand why he committed suicide, while also trying to live her life being depressed. She's a very depressed character. There is a little bit of romance in here, but I actually really liked the romance in it. I thought it was really well done. She slowly develops her feelings towards the love interest. But like I said, this book was really, really, really good. I really enjoyed this. I think I read this in a day. Like I said, it is very dark. It's quite morbid, and our main character is depressed. So if you like that kind of story, I think that you might enjoy this. But I really, really enjoyed this, and I was really, really glad that I found this on from Richard's channel, because it was really, really good. And then the next two things I read this month, and you shouldn't be surprised, but they were Saga Volume 2 and Saga Volume 3, both Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples. So I have mentioned before that I only like to get the first thing in a graphic novel or manga series, because if I don't enjoy it, I don't want to have wasted my money. But the second, I think I was a couple pages away from finishing Saga Volume 1 when I went and ordered Saga Volume 2 and Saga Volume 3, and they were just as good as the first one. I would probably say that maybe Saga Volume 3 has been my favorite so far. I mean, they've all been really, really good, but I think Saga Volume 3 was my favorite, and these both just follow right along with their story, them escaping and still trying to stay in hiding. These are quite a bit more graphic than the first one. There's quite a bit more nudity in these, but it's still really enjoyable. The storyline is very, very enjoyable, and I am just really eager for Saga Volume 4 to come out, because I will definitely be picking them up. Like I said, I highly recommend these if you guys want a fast-paced, really good science fiction, fantasy-esque graphic novel, and I gave, of course, these both 5 out of 5 stars. My next read was a buddy read, and I've read these with Sarah, Lindsay, and Jordan, and I really enjoyed it, and it's going to be Siege and Storm by Leigh Bardugo. I obviously had already read Shadow and Bone, and I really enjoyed it, but I just hadn't gotten around to reading Siege and Storm, and then I saw that they were talking about that they were going to buddy read this together, so I kind of invited myself along to read it with them, and they were so sweet and included me, and so I ended up reading this with them. And it's funny because when we were all on Voxer talking about it, and it's really funny because I think we all had the general same feelings when we were done with Siege and Storm, and it was more like an underwhelming feeling. I enjoyed Siege and Storm. I think it's quite a bit longer than it should have been. I think that for the whole middle section of this book is really quite boring. I still really like the Darkling for some unknown reason. I didn't particularly care for Mal in this book. I thought he was really frustrating, but I really, really liked Nikolai. He was awesome. So yeah, I think I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. This pretty much, I can't go into too much detail about it because it is a second book in a trilogy, but it pretty much takes off right about where Shadow and Bone ends. I have started reading Ruin and Rising, and I'm about 50% of the way through it. I'm not enjoying it as much as I was hoping to, but we'll just see as the story goes along. Overall, right now, the series isn't the best series. Their trilogy isn't the best trilogy I've ever read, but it is quite enjoyable if you want a kind of fantasy-esque story. So I think I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. The next book that I read this month is a book that I actually ended up finishing, and that's going to be The Ask and the Answer by Patrick Ness. Now, I started this book and I think March or April after I had finished pretty much reading The Knife of Never Letting Go, and I read I think 200 pages of this, and I kind of put it down because it's not that I wasn't in the mood for it or wasn't enjoying it, but I think other books came out that I was really in the mood for, and when I finished reading Siege and Storm, this just kept calling out to me, so I went ahead and picked it up, and it was really, really good. I enjoyed this quite a bit more than I enjoyed The Knife of Never Letting Go. The story in here is so gripping and so depressing. Patrick Ness's writing style is so beautiful, and the world that he writes is so dark, but it's still so enjoyable. And I think I was talking one time to I believe Reagan from Peruse Project. I believe that we were talking one time on Twitter, and she mentioned that she loves how Patrick Ness, how he's so clever in naming his books, and I said, yeah, I know, I really completely agree. And she said, wait, have you read the Ask and the Answer? I was like, no, I haven't finished it. She said, well, read it and then you'll understand. And I completely agree with Reagan, where she says that he names his books so expertly. The Ask and the Answer is the perfect name for this book. It's so great. Like I said, I can't go into too much detail about what this book is about because it is the second in a trilogy, but I highly recommend it. I wasn't a huge fan of the beginning of the story of the Knife of Letting Go, but once you get past a certain part, it is quite gripping. The books are rather large, and the third one is even larger, but very fast paced, and it's really enjoyable. This book is told in dual perspective, which I think gives it a little bit more, but like I said, I think I gave this a 4.5 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed this, and I think I will be reading Monsters of Men quite soon. And then the next book that I read this month is going to be Chopsticks by Jessica Anthony and Rodrigo Corral. I picked this book up on a whim because I saw someone mention it, and so I went onto the Amazon Marketplace and I was going to see if anybody had one used, and I think I picked this up for about $4 or $5, shipping included. It is a little bit bent right here, but it is okay. And I picked this up the day that I got it, and I read it that night because it is quite fast paced and it is told entirely in pictures, and I really enjoyed this. I believe I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. This I don't think that I should tell you too much about what the story is about, but it more or less follows our story of our two main characters. One is a piano prodigy and the other is an immigrant from another country, and they form a relationship. They fall in love, and then stuff happens, and our piano prodigy ends up having to leave, and it's kind of them trying to find themselves again, to find each other again. It's a very beautiful story. I really enjoyed it. The artwork is just so beautiful. Like I said, it's told entirely in picture form, and it's so great. I mean, like, pictures like this, like, it's so fantastic. I really enjoyed it. You don't get a whole lot of narration, a whole lot of writing. You're just seeing the pictures as they are, and it's really great. I just can't get over how great these pictures are. I highly recommend this if you guys want a very fast-paced, like in the matter of hour reading. I highly recommend it if you want to pick up something like this. Like I said, I think I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. But yes, it's a very beautiful story, and it's so beautiful. Even the spine. I think the spine is what gets everybody. The spine is so beautifully done, and the name of the book, of course, goes so well with the story. The next book that I read is going to be Horrorstor, and this is by Grady Hendrix, and I was sent this for review by the wonderful people at Quark Books, and I read this, I think, the day after that I got it, and I really enjoyed this. Now, I know sometimes people like get ARCs, or they get finished copies of books before they come out, and they gotta like talk it up, say how good it is, and then I read it and I'm like, I don't know about that. But I can 100% tell you guys that I really enjoyed Horrorstor. It was so good. This is not anything what it seems like from the front cover. So you look at the front cover and you don't think how good this can be, but it is so great. This follows our main character named Amy, and Amy is an employee at the store called Orsk, and Orsk is pretty much a cheaper version of IKEA. And Amy is just trying to get through her job being completely unnoticed so that she can transfer back to where her original store that she wanted to be at. So she's trying to avoid her manager, and then one day her manager pulls her into the office and says, I'm sure you know that there's been a whole lot of weird things going on in Orsk, and I'd like you to go ahead and stay the night here to figure it out. Let's go ahead and catch these culprits, and stuff takes off from there. This is, to me, told in 2 different kind of settings. Like, you've got the whole satirical kind of making fun of the consumer type thing, like explaining how stores really set everything up so meticulously so that the consumer or the person buying things gets the most out of it, gets the most experience out of it, and buys as much as they can. But it also has a horror story aspect of it, and it was really enjoyable. In fact, the horror story gets towards the end is so good and so dark and like gruesome, and it's so great. Like, the whole torture aspect in here is just so unique and so interesting. And I really like how the beginning of every chapter shows some kind of Orsk furniture furniture and then explains how this can enhance your life, and each picture progressively gets more and more dark. And I really enjoy this. I think I gave this a 4.5 out of 5 stars, and I really recommend it. I will be posting a review of it a little bit closer to the date, maybe a week before the book comes out, and this book comes out September 23rd. And next I read Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe. This pretty much follows the story of our main character named Aristotle with kind of a secondary main character named Dante. Aristotle is very a lonely character. He doesn't have a lot of friends. He doesn't want friends. He is very introverted, very within himself, and he meets his friend Dante, and Dante helps to kind of break him out of that. The story is so beautiful. A lot of it, and like everybody else says, is because of the family dynamic in the story. Their family is very important in here. Not only is the friendship between Aristotle and Dante so great, but also the aspect of the family in here. The family is just as much of a main character as Aristotle and Dante, and I loved each of their families so much, and reading about them was so great. I enjoyed the story between Aristotle and Dante so much, and it was such a beautiful story, even all the way up to the ending where I kind of saw it coming, but it was just so beautiful, and I highly recommend this if you want something that has so many quotable passages. I mean, I just littered this bad boy with a whole bunch of different tabs because it was just so beautifully written. And then the last thing I read this month was kind of on a whim, and that's going to be Of Scars and Stardust. And I can't think of the author of it, but I will go ahead and insert a picture and link everything down below. And I received a e-galley of this from NetGalley, and I requested it because I have seen a lot of people talking about it, and so I wanted to go ahead and pick it up, and I am so glad I did. So Of Scars and Stardust pretty much follows our main character named Claire, and Claire lives in New York, and she has been living here for 2 years following an incident that happened when she still lived at home. And she lives in Manhattan trying to live her life, and then one day she receives a phone call letting her know that her sister has gone missing, and she has to decide whether she's going to stay in Manhattan or if she's going to go back to where her family is from and where her past has stayed. This is the type of story that I really feel that you should go into this knowing very little of what the story is about. Similar to like We Were Liars, you should go into the story just like that. Take what I just told you and then just read the book like that. This book was so amazing. I just did not expect what happened to happen, and it was just so great. This story has an unreliable narrator, and it's just so good. I read the book and then I finished it, and I was so mad that I didn't know more people that had read the book because I needed to talk to people about it. And unfortunately the story doesn't come out until October, but it is so good. I went and I voxed Rachel from Rachel Wright to talk to her about it because she had finished it, and we talked a little bit about our feelings towards it. But it was so good, and I highly recommend this. I gave this a 4.5 out of 5 stars, hands down. I think this book is going to be really big, and I highly recommend that you guys pick it up when it comes out. I'm going to do a full review over it, a full video review over it, because I just feel that strongly about how great the book was, and I really think that and I will post it about a week before that book comes out, but it was so good, and I'm telling you guys, I really think this book is going to be huge because it was just so phenomenal. So yeah, those are the 11 things that I read this month. If you guys want to link me down below your August wrap-ups, you are more than welcome to do so. September TBRs, you're more than welcome to do so. And also, just so you guys know, shameless plug, I have an Instagram now. I'm not the biggest fan of Instagram, but lately I've been posting, I've been taking pictures more of my books and wanted to do a book-related Instagram. So I went ahead and I created one, so I will link that down below, and I will also go ahead and link my blog down below. I have been working on my blog, trying to get it to where I want it, and it is almost ready, I think, so I will go ahead and link my blog down below. But other than that, thanks guys so much for commenting, liking, and subscribing, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!